Salvador Garcia is not famous as a killer of Camarilla Kindred or reckless masquerade breacher, yet many princes fear his coming to their city more than any violent troublemaker. Garcia fights the war of ideas, traveling from city to city, rousing up the local anarch underclass to fight for their rights. Garcia's role is like that of a union agitator. He talks to the young licks, helps them see that they don't have to accept their miserable role in undead society, and carries news from other domains. One single visit can leave ideas germinating in the minds of the city's disenfranchised, leading to the birth of a new anarch movement. Originally famous as the chief ideologue of the anarch free states in California, and the killer of the old prince of Los Angeles, Garcia now visits his home city only rarely. Instead, he uses his extensive contacts in the movement to travel from domain to domain, spreading revolution and evading Camarilla forces, keen to see the undead Che Guevara executed. Greetings, Kindred. I am Voivode Maquette, and welcome back to our world of darkness with another episode of Metaplot Monday. We are now done with the Forbidden Religions book, and we're going back on track where we were supposed to be before that little side adventure started, and going back into the Anarch guide, which I understand that a lot of you were interested in, and I sidetracked, and I apologize for that. But I got excited, and if I can't do what's going to make me excited with this, then what's the point, right? So today we're covering the lore sheet for Salvador Garcia, which I have to fully admit that before I got my hands on the V5 information, I had no idea who he was. He does not hold the same fame as Jeremy McNeil or Nines Rodriguez when it comes to the California Anarch movement, but he is apparently someone who was very, very important and still is a very active member of the Anarch movement. Now, due to the fact that I, someone who has delved into this stuff as much as I have, has never heard of this gentleman, I would like to go ahead and read off a little bit of the White Wolf fandom wiki to let you know a little bit more about Salvador Garcia himself. Born in Spain in the late 1800s, Salvador Garcia was the son of Spanish farmers. In young adulthood, Garcia joined various movements occurring in Spain. During his tenure in one of these groups, Garcia was beaten by the police, and while he would not recover, his savior appeared in the form of a vampire named Ferdinand. Ferdinand offered Garcia both immortality and to keep fighting oppression, and Salvador accepted. Now a vampire, Garcia joined the brujah in fighting back against Ventru-controlled Spain. In a successful attack on the Prince of Barcelona, Garcia's sire was destroyed. With him, the Spanish Anarch movement. Garcia promptly fled to the United States, making his way across the country and coming to rest in Los Angeles in the 1940s. Along with Jeremy McNeil and other notable anarchs of the time, he plotted the Second Anarch Revolt. When the revolt finally came to fruition, Garcia led a party on Prince Don Sebastian Juan Dominguez's home on the night of the revolt. It is claimed that Garcia was able to kill the prince in one-on-one combat, and this became a rallying tale for the Anarchs as Garcia killed a vampire 3 generations below him. After the revolt, Garcia authored the Status Perfectus, and since then the Anarchs have traveled abroad helping various revolutionary groups in their struggles. During his travels, he witnessed the inefficiency and disorder of the Anarchs and came to believe that they were just another bunch of thugs, no better than the Sabbat. McNeil hindered him from challenging Muhammad al-Muthim and the Crips' son, who Garcia believed to be a Sabbat pack that were trying to infiltrate the Free States. This made him very pessimistic for the Free States' future until the first Kuai-Jin arrived in 1999. During the Nights of Prophecy, the Cathayans promised to wipe out the Crips' son. In exchange for his loyalty, Garcia, who did not want to risk his men's unlife against the foreigners, accepted the deal. He came to believe that the new promised Mandarinate was a better chance of equality than the Free States had ever been, for it avoided the old gangland feudalism that had dominated the Free States. Garcia had learned a great deal about the Cathayan culture, but believes them to be religious nutjobs. He does not share their beliefs in the Yama Kings or the coming of the Sixth Age. So that's Garcia. That's who we're dealing with here. Now his lore sheet is again also something that I never really would have put much thought into due to the fact that I don't know. I spent a good amount of time playing Camarilla and playing Sabbat, and my very limited experience playing Anarch just never really got this much into the lore. Investing one trait into this lore sheet gets you away with words. You've studied the thoughts of not just Salvador Garcia, but all well-known Anarch political ideologues. You are a veteran of the movement's political debates and can hold your own. For this reason, you get 2 extra dice in any roll involving a political debate where you invoke Anarch principles. This is a very interesting lore sheet so far. This is the first point. Due to the fact that, from what I've seen, most Anarch games end up being an outright battle between the Camarilla and the Anarchs, or the Anarchs and the Sabbat, or the Anarchs and the Kuai-Jin, or whoever the heck is occupying the same territory as the Anarchs. You don't really find most games that, in my experience, where the Anarchs just have what they have, and the only thing that they're actually dealing with is their own political infrastructure, which I think should happen more often than not. But even in the games, even in the video games, such as Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, you're dealing with the fact that there's an Anarch dominated area where the Camarilla and the Kuai-Jin are starting to muscle in. The Sabbat's also is trying to muscle in. It's one big hectic war, and the fight is never over for these people. So the idea that you are in here with Anarch principles in political debates is, I don't know, I think I'd like to see it. Right now, I think my game Thicker Than Water is kind of in that area of junction due to the fact of the events that are happening in Chicago, which I will get to doing the Thicker Than Water recaps. I just need to get this done first. But I can see where having 2 extra dice while trying to argue your point for Anarch principles could come in play. Investing 2 traits into this lore sheet gets you old school. You've met Garcia and advocated the ideas of abolishing princes and establishing domains with decentralized power. This gives you cred among old school Anarchs of the California Free State generation, who kept the movement going through the lean years before the current explosion of activity. Because of this, you have the equivalent of 3 dots mala representing older Anarchs, who like you, though they will help you only in matters of the movement. So in other words, you have proven yourself worth your salt in the new Anarch movement to the point where the old guard wants to help you out in these things. That's pretty cool. I think 3 points in mala is worth it in all things, especially when you've got people who are going to help you to reestablish what you think the status quo should be doing instead of leaving things as they are. Investing 3 traits into this lore sheet gets you enemy of the state. The Camarilla despises you because of your open advocacy of the Anarch ideas. They attempt to discredit you by spreading bizarre rumors. You sold out your domain to strange Chinese vampires. You didn't really do the heroic acts ascribed to you. You're actually a Sabbat infiltrator, and so on. As an unintended consequence of these rumors, all attempts to find real facts about you are made at a 2-dice penalty to the relevant rolls. And any information gained is tainted by falsehoods unless the roll is a critical win. Double-bladed sword there. First off, they've got people spreading horrible rumors about you, but because the rumors are there and so prevalent, they can't find any actual information. That could come in handy. A 2-dice penalty on all relevant, on all relevant rolls when it comes to finding out personal information about you. That could very well be the difference between life and death for you and your coterie, depending on what kind of information comes out about that. Investing 4 traits into this Loresheet gets you the War of Ideas. Garcia teaches many young licks about the ideas of the Anarch movement. Some of those ideas were formulated by him, but not all. Indeed, you once wrote down a vision of how undead society should be organized, and the text has become part of Garcia's standard spiel. Because of this, you're known all across the Anarch territories, and you use this fame as the equivalent of 3 dots of allies in any Anarch domain. That is definitely worth it. The idea of having friends, no matter where you go, as long as it's an Anarch domain, the fact that you have 3 points, that can mean finding havens, finding feeding territories, getting a hold of weapons, knowing where you need to avoid. This is one of those things that I think builds the character more up than anything else. This can definitely come in handy. I like the idea of the way that they're using the allies background in V5, particularly in this, but in general as well, because allies was just always one of those, is it influences, is it contacts, how exactly does this thing work? They do things for you, and the fact that these are Anarch allies can come in handy extremely well when it comes to interacting in Anarch territories that could be under siege by one of the other many groups that are trying to tear them apart. Investing 5 traits into this Loresheet gets you Rise Up. You know how to talk to your fellow Anarchs, and they know what you stand for. When you call for revolution, things will happen. Unfortunately, you have no control over what exactly will happen. Once per story, you can make a politics roll to rile the local Anarchs into action. Gauge the scale of the effects to the number of successes rolled. 3 can give you a spontaneous raid on the Prince's Haven, while 6 might start a revolt encompassing most of the city's Anarch population. Yet another number 5 that can make or break your game depending on what you're trying to do. This, again, is one of those things where when the storyteller sees that somebody takes something like this, they need to judge what the players want. Are they going for the long-term thing? Are they trying to have a one-and-done fight with the local Camarilla that are trying to just overthrow and turn it into an Anarch area? Because these are the kind of things that can just really throw a game for a loop. Storytellers can put months and months of time into a single story trying to figure out exactly how they're going to run it, but if their players are not wanting to run that type of story, it can all be for naught. I think that Rise Up, where once per story you can make this political role to rally the troops, is an example of that. I personally like this, and I tend to make it so that my NPCs have their individual goals. So when the players are doing what they're going to do, they are either working with or against my NPCs or my SPCs. And I don't tend to have an idea of where I want the story to go. I run off of the reactions of what the players have done, where they're going, or at least where they're pointing towards, and what they want to play through. I do throw them curveballs every once in a while, but most of the time it tends to be consequences of their own actions. So, this has been a look at the Salvador Garcia Loresheet found in the Anarch book for Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. I'm interested if anybody out there has taken this one. It is not active in my game right now, so I have not really been able to see this in play as of yet. But I do wish to hear what other people who are playing this game have done with it. I am Voivode Maquettes. This is Our World of Darkness, and thank you for joining me on this episode of Metaplot Monday. Good evening.